Shalom, shalom, Israel. Hope y'all all in good health and good spirits. It's your brother Mikael coming at you with another Walls of Jericho special. Of course, this is on my Hebrews in the Hood channel. And so I'm gonna continue where I left off yesterday. As y'all know, this is the so-called New Year. So this is the New Year day. Last night was New Year's Eve. Yeah, y'all can see I got the same stuff on. So what? It's 8 below zero outside. I ain't trying to go outside and impress nobody. 8 below. Y'all think I'm joking? It's off the chain in Illinois. 8 below. Oh, actually, it done warmed up a little bit. It's -1 now. So that ain't that bad. And do y'all know these people was out here and out in Waukegan jumping in the lake, in the water, man. They jumping in the water for their annual polar splash. And it was at least 9 degrees below zero in Waukegan. Y'all crazy. And I seen the Jake do it. A brother. Yeah, a black man. I seen the black man do it. Look like E40 getting up out that freezing water on the news, man. You got to be nuts. So like I said yesterday, we was dealing with the whole New Year's Eve thing. I did a little video entitled, "This is not the New Year. This is not our New Year," right? And what winded up happening, I can't make this up. I could actually show you, but it ain't gonna do no good. Let me see. But actually, I made the video on the Walls of Jericho group. And I made the video, and as soon as I put the video up there, they flagged me in my own group. I got flagged, and so it was crazy because at the time I was trying to download the video to YouTube. So they must have flagged me in the middle of me downloading, and that's why y'all only see a snippet of the video entitled from yesterday, "This is not our New Year," with the god Janus on there, or the fake deity Janus on there, because they must have cut me. When they cut me while it was loading over to YouTube. So that's why y'all only got 3 minutes. So I apologize. It was actually only like 13 minutes long anyway, but I had touched on a couple of quick subjects on this. So I'm gonna touch on them now, but I know everything happened for a reason, because I went and checked the comments on my YouTube video, and I seen a sister named LA. I think her name was LA, and she said she was a new subscriber, and she said she's noticed that I think it was LA, so forgive me if I'm saying the wrong person, but I know she was saying that she heard me notice about the proper times, dates, and months and holidays or holy days that the Bible professes, that the God, the true creator, the God professes, as opposed to the one that the world recognizes. So she asked me would I do one and expound on it. So I'm gonna do a few. God willing, I'm gonna do a few. We always supposed to be here to answer every man or woman, especially when it comes to edifying us as a people, when it is truth. And it's a lot of stuff out there you're gonna run into when you just coming into the truth. Like, it's a lot of stuff. It's some stuff out there that's actually distractions that shield, that's kind of dressed up like the truth. So you have to even be careful with that, because you leave in one lie, and then you just so happy to learn and get away from that lie, you might jump right off into another lie. So so just stay with me. I got you. And if you want to read the feast days, the annual feast days for yourself, which is the 7 annuals, excuse me, y'all, that'll be in Leviticus chapter 23. You can go read Leviticus chapter 23. We have 7 annual feast days, or holy days, that and holy feasts. Some last for a week, that we kept throughout the year. Everybody had to return to Jerusalem. Of course, we not returning to Jerusalem now as a whole, meaning all the scattered Negroes or true Hebrew Israelites that was scattered. But it is people that's doing it. So we make sure that we acknowledge it, and we keep these feasts wherever the Lord say his name is at, because it also tell you that, where he places his name at. So where we at, two or three of us or more, he is present. So we keeping him here. We keeping him in our captive lands. You got some Israelites that want to fight against that. But when you check a lot of them cats out, you'll find out that they ain't doing nothing to separate themselves from the heathen or from the world. Nothing at all. They just going around with a Hebrew name saying Yahuwah, Yahweh, or whatever. But literally, they worse than just modern day Christians. Like they more lawless than them. So they out of there. That they just know they Hebrews for nothing. I think that make it worse. So anyway, I've been blabbing for 5 minutes. So I just wanted to get a shout out. Like I said, I'm sorry about that happening. So I said today I'm going to title this. This is the True New Year. The True New Year and when a day starts. Now I added the when a day starts part in there because they connect. They go hand in hand. And you're going to run into a lot of, that's another thing that's false. When the day starts, they got us thinking the day starts when the sun comes up. Because, being that we are creatures that are not nocturnal, I could see why you would accept it or believe it. But like with everything else, we become so comfortable with something that we just don't bother to question these things. And so when a day begins and when a year begins, have to coincide, because a year can't start before or after the day starts. Let's just keep it like that. And a day cannot start before or after, or like I'm saying, they have to start at the same time. So when there's a new day, there will be a new month, which will how you will be able to calculate day by day, week by week, month by month, and eventually year by year. So you got to think about that. That's why I hear people debating all the time, when do a day start? Even some silly Hebrews, when do a day start? You know what I'm saying? I hear them, and I just be sitting here looking like, I'm going to show you right now. If a day starts in the daytime, then that would mean that a month would have to start in the daytime. It's that simple. You know what I'm saying? One can't start in the daytime and the other one start in the nighttime, because now you all over it. You just off. You cross paths. That means time is off. And God is not the author of confusion. His time starts exactly when it starts. So we're going to take a look at, I want to give a shout out to Sister Tina too, because she put a post up on Facebook. I checked it out this morning. I fell asleep last night, man. So I apologize to everybody I was supposed to get up with. I'm going to make my call as soon as I get off of here, because I have been neglectful to even people that's close to me, and I haven't been returning the calls like I'm supposed to. But I'm going to try to take care of a lot. I promise y'all. So look, right. I'm going to take a look. Sister Tina was on Facebook. Give a shout out to Sister Tina. And she had put a post up. I told her I was going to give you a shout out about when even a day starts. They tell you at 12 o'clock midnight, it's a new day. Have y'all ever thought that didn't make no sense? When literally, like the sister said, the term midnight means middle of the night. So how on earth did a day change in the middle of the night? Don't make no sense, do it? It's because they had to do all that when the Romans started and the Greeks started playing with time. They just, everything got threw off. They was already going off crazy stuff, but we wasn't. And that's why I always say every year, at least twice a year, that we are the original April Fools. Matter of fact, she actually even put something up, an article up on April Fools. I didn't get a chance to read it, but I'm pretty sure it's probably going along the lines of what we always talk about in the Hebrew community, that we were the original April Fools, because the Jews, quote unquote Israelites, still followed God's timeline, which is the month of Abib. Abib always fall around April. You know what I'm saying? So when we was over amongst like the Greeks, Corinthians, Colossians, Romans, all these type of people, modern day white people, when we would be in their lands or around them, they would celebrate January after their god Janus. And that's why if you see on my little snippet video, 3-minute one, you see Janus has a face in the head, a face in the front, and a face in the back, meaning looking to the future, looking at the past. That's where you get your New Year's resolution from. See, it's all pagan worship. So that was their New Year. But we still kept it in April. So they called us April Fools. But we was actually keeping God's New Year. See, this is the arrogance of these people though. So I'm gonna start at Exodus chapter 34. And we're gonna take a look at this. Cause like I say, I'm gonna kill 2 birds with 1 stone. When is the Sabbath day? Because that's tied in there. Or when is a day period start? Which you could really just go to Genesis. The first chapter say the evening and the morning. We know when evening is, it's dark. But then they go and they see where it says the morning, and so they just think that changed right there that quick. It's just called repetitive talk. When somebody knows something already, the foundation is set. You don't always keep saying the same thing over and over and over again because you know. But anyway, let's take a look at it. Exodus chapter 34, and we're gonna read this chapter 34 and verse 14. It says, "For thou shalt worship no other God. For the Lord, whose name is jealous, is a jealous God. Lest thou make a covenant with the inhabitants of the land, and they go a whoring after their gods, and do sacrifice unto their gods. And one call thee, and thou eat of his sacrifice." Now, this is funny, of course. We had left, dealing with the Exodus, we left Egypt and all this stuff like this, right? And he telling us one of the things we do when we in somebody else's land, don't make no covenant with these people, because one of the things you're going to do is wind up worshiping their gods. If y'all don't believe me, why are we having this discussion today? We are in a covenant with these Gentiles, aka white people, or where I'm at, America. We are in a covenant with our captors, whether we know it or not. And you see it in the works of what we just read. We are actually feasting, sacrificing, and kicking it on New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, which is January or Janus, a god, a Roman god. So here you go. We're in their land, and they're telling us that the New Year starts in January. In January, right? Find out January is a Roman, Greco-Roman deity. It is a false god. So we're feasting, or we're partaking in their sacrifices. In today's modern term, like we not sit down literally burning the sacrifice, but we can show you even in the scriptures when you eating and drinking and feasting on these days of recognition, that is a form of a sacrifice. So if you eating a New Year's Eve dinner, just by that fact, I ain't saying you can't eat on New Year's Eve, but if you're somewhere feasting and balling and you're eating New Year's Eve dinner, you're eating a sacrifice to Janus. It's that simple. It ain't even really that hard to see. But you got people running around saying they holy sanctified Christians, and they doing all of this. All of this. Like literally, all of this. And it's about us educating each other. It ain't about us dogging each other out. So remember, we see what's going on, and he wrote this that long time ago, and we actually see it still coming to just live out, right? So I'm gonna skip down to verse 18 to get to the whole point of why. And I started here because actually the sister posted Exodus 34. I'm like, that's a good place to start to prove both of my points. So this is verse 18. It says, "The feast of unleavened bread shalt thou keep. 7 days thou shalt eat unleavened bread, as I commanded thee, in the time of the month of Abib. For in the month Abib thou camest out of Egypt." Now this is key. We came out of Egypt, the Israelites, which were our ancestors. They did not look like Charleston Heston and them. They looked like us. So we came out of Egypt, another black nation, which represents bondage or slavery. So we in modern day Egypt now. So when we came out of Egypt, of course, this was when we was making our nation a stronghold. Now, so God rescuing us from Egypt, we have the Feast of Unleavened Bread. Why? Well, because we had to get up out of there so quick that the bread didn't have time to rise and fluff up like we got the bread today. So it was, of course, it was unleavened bread, which is the flat bread, right? Well, this was after the Passover. So we had the Passover that we kept. We put the blood over the doorpost. That identified us and who we were. That was a marker so the Lord didn't kill us. And it was based off our faith. Because if we didn't throw it up there, we'd have been dead too. So we had the Passover, and then we go into the Feast of Unleavened Bread. All this is significant because you need to pay attention. We're leaving Egypt. Why? Because when we left Egypt, it was a new year. It was starting a new time for us. Now, does that mean that all the time just changed when he grabbed Israel? What about the time that was being recorded before then? God had it already recorded. He just told us what to name it, so we would never lose track of it from that point on. But it was already the time was already being taken. You know what I'm saying? God just had the correct time, so he put it on us so that time would be correct and understood. Ancient Egypt, if I ain't mistaken, I believe, or Kemet, if you want to call it, they had like a 10-day week. They had 10 days in a week. So you know that was all over the place. But God knew what time it was, right? So yeah, so we see that. So it say that in the time, it say, I commanded thee in the time of the month Abib, for in the month Abib, y'all camest out of Egypt. So we came out of Egypt in the month of Abib. Wow, that's real important. I want y'all to really keep that in y'all mind because it's a breeze for this. So I'm going to stay in Exodus. Let's bag up. We're going to go to Exodus. I'm going to bag up to chapter 13, right? So it's Exodus chapter 13. And Exodus chapter 13, here's what it says. I want y'all to pay attention to this. Now remember, we coming up out of Egypt. So one of the reasons he told us, he said, man, you're going to start this feast in the month of Abib. So Abib is the first month. Abib is the first month. Ain't no months before. Not January, but Abib, which we going to show you on the Greco-Roman calendar is around April. So he said, you came up out of Egypt and you starting a whole new, you did, right? So let's go to Exodus chapter 13, right? So check this out. Exodus 13, and I'm going to start at verse 3. It says, and Moses said unto the people, remember this day in which ye came out from Egypt, out of the house of bondage. So we supposed to remember this day. So that's why we remembering it today. We supposed to tell this to our kids. We supposed to sing songs about it. I can show you that and all that type of stuff. This is our culture. If you want to talk about our culture, this is what we supposed to talk about. When the Most High rescued us out of these tyrannical people, which was black also. It was black on black crime. So it says, came out of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. So Egypt is always synonymous with bondage. That's why in Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 68, when he said that we will go into Egypt again with ships, we know it wasn't talking about literal Egypt. The whole nation never, or even a large number never went back into Egypt, and especially not by ships. They didn't need ships. You could walk. Joseph and them walked in. You walked in there. All his brothers walked in there. You could walk out of there and all of that. So it's talking about what it says here now. Bondage. So in Deuteronomy 28:68, when it says you will go into Egypt again by ships, he's talking about you will go into bondage with ships or slavery on slave ships. That's all it means. Okay, so it says, for by strength of hand, the Lord brought you out from this place. There shall no leavened bread be eaten. I remember we just explained that. So it's saying this is a symbolism of the might of the Most High. He brought us up out that place. So we keep the Feast of Unleavened Bread. Now listen to this. Pay close attention. Verse 4. This day came ye out in the month of Abib. Hold on now. Did y'all catch that? He said, this day we came out in the month of Abib. Now this let me know two things. He already had the months calculated. This guy, he can't forget. He know when he first started keeping months, but now he's bringing it to us to establish as a nation. See, it's the knowledge we're supposed to teach the earth, right? So he's telling us, you came out. So when you came out, this was what you would call the beginning of a year, and it's called Abib. So the real New Year's, we was leaving up out of Egypt, up out of bondage, y'all. We was leaving up out of slavery. Ain't that funny? Y'all need to keep y'all mind on them thoughts too, because you know how he did things back then, how he gonna do it now. And we know around the atonement, Christ gonna be back. That's another deep one to think about. So when we gonna be leaving to head to that wilderness? Y'all just think on that. And it won't be January. I can tell you that now. That's just for calculating up on here. It definitely ain't gonna be January. Okay, so it says, this day came ye out in the month of Abib. So we see it says this day. So let's find out, because like I said, you got some crazy jakes running around here that's just like the religious folks that's been lied to and blinded, like all us was at one point, who's still trying to say a day starts at sunlight. Now, if we could come back here later and read like verse 6 through 10, and you'll see how he break down and feast on unleavened bread, because there's some things in there that you should pay attention to also that can matter of fact, I'm gonna read this before I leave. I am gonna do this. I'm gonna do the scriptures justice. I'm not gonna do that. Okay, it says verse 6, because this is to the response to the people who said, like, well, how do we want to know the proper way to keep our days and all of that, right? So verse 6 says, 7 days thou shalt eat unleavened bread, and in the 7th day shall be a feast of the Lord. Unleavened bread shall be eaten 7 days, and there shall no leavened bread be seen with thee, neither shall there be leaven seen with thee in all thy quarters. So you ain't supposed to be eating no leavened bread. You ain't supposed to have no leavened bread nowhere around you. You ain't supposed to have no leavened bread in your house. You're supposed to throw it out, right? It's all got deep symbolism, but it goes back to us being freed from Egypt, right? And if you really want to get deep on a spiritual level, it deals with purging sin out of your life. You know, it said a little leaven the whole lump. Let's get down to verse 10 though. It say, thou shalt therefore keep this ordinance in his season from year to year. So this is how we kept time before a Greco-Roman calendar. This is how we design calendars ourselves, which I'm going to talk about, because some of them ain't right. Some of them are straight Talmudic and Babylonian in origin. If you got Tammuz in your calendar, that is not a Hebrew calendar. I'm letting y'all know that now. Tammuz, if we all know, was a deity of Babylon, right? So we got to take a look at this, right? So it said, thou shalt therefore keep these ordinances in his season from year to year. So we supposed to keep this from every year, even up until today. How do we keep the years? He just told us, he gave us the foundation. You start with the month of Abib. So now, I'm not saying throw away your Greco-Roman calendar, because you still got to keep up to date with what's going on. You just got 2 languages now that you understand. You got the true dates, and then you got their dates. Because you definitely ain't going to just throw away their dates, because you're going to want your check from work. And I know they ain't giving it to you on no Hebrew calendar. Y'all ain't going to see eye to eye on that one, partner. And you know, when you got to pay them bills, you would be sitting out in the snow in December, and playing games like that. So, we got to apply common sense with things. We under the Gentiles right now. We under their rulership. Got to deal with it. Our forefathers jacked us up. Wouldn't listen to the Most High, got us through up on them. So we got to deal with it. But you just use your wisdom that the Most High give us, and we make this captivity way easier than it has to be. You see what I'm saying? Let me pause for 1 second, y'all. Don't go nowhere. Yeah, sorry about that, Israel. Battery was going low. Had to find my charger for the laptop. Something always happens when you start getting in deep. Okay, so where I was at, I had just finished reading how he gave us to keep the ordinances in his season from year to year, right? So this is the Feast of Unleavened Bread, you know, and of course it started with the Passover. It led it to the Feast of Unleavened Bread, and it tells us that it starts in the month of Abib. So Abib is the beginning of the year. So it is the new year. The true new year is the month of Abib, right? So, not to lose y'all off track, let's bag up again one last time, because this is for a reason. I'm killing two birds with one stone. Verse 4, remember it said, this day came ye out in the month Abib. So, it says this day. So let's see if this day means that it had to be daylight. You got some silly people out talking about, see, day only mean when it's bright, and night only mean when it's night. So they basically saying night ain't a part of a 24-hour day. If you want to say that, 24-hour day. They don't see from sundown to sundown. Crazy. But let's see what the books say. So let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 16. Now it's saying that day, the day we came out of Egypt, right? And that day. So we're going to see. Deuteronomy, just kill this real quick. I be listening to people and I just be like, boy, oh boy, oh boy. Some people getting, as they search to get smarter, they actually get dumber. So Deuteronomy 16, and we're going to read one thing. It's going to make it clear. Deuteronomy 16, it says, verse 1. Listen close to all you solar, sunrise people. Listen. Now, we just read that that day we came out of Egypt, right? And we see that Abib was the beginning or the first month. So we started time with Abib and we came out in that day. Let's see, when did that day start? Was it daylight or was it dark? Deuteronomy chapter 16, verse 1. It says, observe the month of Abib, and keep the Passover unto the Lord thy God. For in the month of Abib, the Lord thy God brought thee forth out of Egypt by night. Let's read that again. Let's read that again. For in the month of Abib, the first month of the year, it's a new beginning. Remember, it's a new year. It's a new day. It says, the Lord thy God brought thee forth out of Egypt by night. So let's see. If the month just starting, and this is a new, or this is the first month, and this is a new, or the first day, it just told us it was dark. So that day that we came out of Egypt was at nighttime. Meaning it was starting a new day. So let's see at this dark time of this new day starting, meaning the day wasn't starting when the sun was coming up, but it was nighttime. So that would have meant the sun was going down. The sun then went down. Here come the evening. Now here's your new day and your new month. And to further prove it, let's see. Nehemiah chapter 13. This is so simple, y'all. So, yeah, the sad part about it is I know this got some people thinking, so, wow, you mean to tell me they even lied about when a day start? Yes, when a day start. They lied about that too. The day does not start at sunrise. You know, even a fake Jewish person over there who stole our identity, he know that. That's why he starts the Sabbath day on what you would call Friday night, but that's truly the beginning of Saturday. See, we'll have to do a whole breakdown on that. But it really wouldn't be that difficult if y'all following me on this so far. So Nehemiah chapter 13, right? I want y'all to peep this. Nehemiah 13. Nehemiah 13, and we're going to read verse 19. Let's see when the Sabbath day starts. Nehemiah 13 and verse 19. It said, and it came to pass that when the gates of Jerusalem began to be dark before the Sabbath. Hold on. The gates of Jerusalem began to be dark before the Sabbath. So right before it's getting dark, meaning you see it's starting to get dark outside, it's but right before the Sabbath. So that lets you know what? Once it's finally dark, it is the start of the Sabbath day. Because a day starts in darkness, not in light. This is quite simple, y'all. Ain't no way around this. It says, I commanded that the gates should be shut and charged that they should not be open till after the Sabbath. When would be after the Sabbath? That would be after when the sun goes back down. So it's getting dark. The dark is here. Now it's the Sabbath day. So from sundown to sundown, then that would be a whole new day. Whole new day. The Sabbath is over with now. So what you would call Saturday night on their calendar, Saturday night, would actually be the end of the seventh day Sabbath day. It say, and some of my servants sat I at the gates that there should no burden be brought in on the Sabbath day. So confirming what we just read in Exodus 13, 3 and 4, we see they came out on that day. It was a new day. It was a new month, the first month actually. And it was the month of Abib, which I'm going to show you on our calendar, because we have our own calendars, Hebrew calendars, starting with the moon. This is how you keep track of when the new moons is going to fall again and when the months are. See, we got the Greco-Roman month right there, so you just don't get lost at work and all that. And then next to it, we have the actual month with the actual day highlighted behind it. There you go right there. So that's what you have, right? And so, you have the actual months and all of that right there. So we just bagged that up and we see in Nehemiah, the reason that it said it came out that day. And then when we went to Deuteronomy chapter 16, it lets us know it was nighttime when we came out. So that day that he was talking about was the start of that day, which was at nighttime, not at daytime, right? And then we see Nehemiah explains that when it gets dark, that is the start of the Sabbath day. So that's the start of a day. So there you go. So January is already getting killed right about now. We just shot January in the head a couple of times already as being the beginning of the new year. Which, matter of fact, let me put a little more emphasis. Let me see if I can find it for you. Where is it? January, where's the thing at? Matter of fact, I'll show you this. This is the first. These are the Israel of God calendars. The IOG, if y'all familiar with it, the known headquarters in Chicago. They in about 20-some, 30 states or something like that, a couple of countries. Very large Hebrew Israelite camp. This is my home. And they're in Riverdale now. And as you can see, it has on here, it has the first month of the Hebrew calendar, God's calendar, which is Abib. And it has the last month, which is Adar. And this is what we need to know about too, because you even have some Hebrews, a lot of Hebrews are really going off a Jewish calendar. They have Tammuz in it and, you know, Nisan, all type of stuff like that. Where if you look in the scriptures, you can find all the Hebrew months. You can find them, all 12 of them written in the scripture. Just do a search on your Bible search and you'll find them. See what I'm saying? There go the Greco-Roman one, which would be March. So that means, so look at this. That means this past, because this is the 2017-18 so-called calendar, right? And so it says, okay, in the month of Abib, we had, let me find it for you. The first of Abib fell on what they call March 29th. See that? So this was the month of Abib fell on March 28th, 29th of their month. You see that? See that in red? That's when the new moon was at. You get it? That's where the new moon was at. So that's when the month started. So that's what happened when we was reading the scriptures. When we came out of Egypt, right? It was dark. How on earth could a day start in daytime when we need the new moon to let you know when the month starts? Y'all see that? That just killed it right there. So it has to be dark in the beginning for the new moon, not the new sun, to signify the beginning of the month, the beginning of the day. The beginning of the month can't start a half away time after the day then started already. So you mean to tell me if the day started in daytime, that means the day then came, half the day is gone, and then the month started? That is retarded. No, it started the exact same time. When it's a new day, or when it's a new day, it is a new moon, it is a new month. Can't break them. Nails in the coffin. So let's continue though, because I'm going to slide on through this. I'm almost through, just to further confirm what I'm saying. And I could go through with all 12 months, showing to you in the scriptures, but we will be here all day. And like I said, I got some other thing I need to get into. Plus, I'm working on a video, Walls of Jericho, we putting together, trying to get it out before Black History Month, February. Oh, and that's going to be done. Might be way sooner than you think. So I want to go somewhere else real quick, just to confirm what we've been reading. Let's go to Numbers chapter 28. And my brother slid this on me the other day. Shout out to my brother Cassius. He shot this into my inbox. We was talking. It was something I had spoke on at one time, but he went straight on and found it. It'd be like that sometimes. I done read so many scriptures over the years. Sometimes I can't remember where they at. They just be in my head. I can even remember what they say, but I may not necessarily remember exactly where they at. But so let's just keep it on pace of what we've been dealing with. So this Numbers chapter 28, excuse me, and we're going to pick it up in verse 11. It says, and in the beginnings of your months, ye shall offer a burnt offering unto the Lord. Now y'all heard that? So he's telling Israel in the beginning of your months. So this is dealing with the new moon. So each new moon will signify the beginning of your month, right? So this is how we kept time. This is how you, because we're going to show you where all this time changing came from. And the Most High prophesied it, gave it to the prophets to warn us that this was going to happen. It ain't just happened recently. This been going on since around 70 AD. A particular organization of Gentiles have been controlling the clock and trying to throw stuff off. But long as we got these tokens that the Most High gave us, that's how we able to still have this calendar and all these other type of things. We ain't going nowhere. So it says, and in the beginnings of your months, ye shall offer a burnt offering unto the Lord, 2 young bullocks and 1 ram, 7 lambs the first year without spot. And the 10th deals of flour for a meat offering mingled with oil for 1 bullock, and 2/10 deals of flour for a meat offering mingled with oil for 1 ram. And sorry, I don't even know why I read 12. I really want to get to the main point. Let's go to 13. And a several 10th deal of flour mingled with oil for a meat offering unto the Lamb. For a burnt offering of sweet savor, a sacrifice made by fire unto the Lord. Now, and you can see under that 14, it's saying they drink offerings and all of this, and they wine and all of that. So why was we basically having an offering and a feast at the beginning of each month? We was ordained to do that to the Most High God. But guess what? Y'all just did, the world just did that to a god named Janus. That's terrible. But by us doing this is how we were able to keep up with our months. If you notice, Abib ain't the only month, it's the first month. Because right here, he just said you do this for all the starts of your months. How do a month start? We see they, now, if they came out at nighttime, month start in Abib, how do we know these things? Let's check it out. Let's go into the book of Esther. Real simple. So you go back to our history, leaving Babylon, Persia, and all that, you will see how the time and everything just, you know, how we started to put this thing together to the point where we had, you know, we had an established timeline, which it just kills all confusion. You got me? So we're gonna go to Esther chapter 9, And I'm going to read this one verse. Listen, the beginning. Esther 9:1. Now in the 12th month, that is the month of Adar. See, I just showed y'all. So our 12th month is not December. It's Adar. Our first month is Abib. And I got all the other ones in here too. You see what I'm saying? All written in this book. So it killed me how they try to say this the white man book. It's been so tampered with and all that. If it's been so tampered with, it's so messed up, why is it still lined up perfectly? When you study and just, study to show thyself approved before God, like the book say, he show you everything and it's right here. We not handicapped with this. They still can't match this. I'm just keeping it real with you. Okay? So it says, yeah. So just read that part again. You can read all this on your own. It says, now in the 12th month, that is the month of Adar. And it said on the 13th day of the same, when the king commanded his decree, and so forth and so forth. That's dealing about when they was telling them to execute the Jews during this time. So you can go find all the other ones and all that type of stuff. So we got established. Abib is the first month. We came out of Egypt at nighttime. And that day, it was called that day, but it started at nighttime. Abib starts off our 12 months. Our 12th month is Adar. So where January to December come in at? Greco-Romans, right? And we're going to show you why that is. We're going to show you why that is. So I'm going to go to, as a matter of fact, we're going to go and end it off right here. Let's go to the prophet Daniel. Daniel chapter 7. Just going to make it real clear. Daniel 7, and I'll pick it up at 23. Yeah, Daniel 7 and 23. And it says, y'all listen to this clip. It says, thus he said, the fourth beast shall be the fourth kingdom upon the earth, which shall be diverse from all kingdoms, right? And shall devour the whole earth, and shall tread it down and break it in pieces. Well, and another lesson, and you can go to IOG website and look it up. The Four Winds of Heaven. They got the book for sale and all of that, written by Brother Bowie. But the fourth beast is the Roman Empire, which became the Holy Roman Empire. Remember, they sacked Jerusalem in 70 AD. We're still under the Roman Empire right now, whether you know it or not. That's why you still have the treaties of Rome that they signed in Europe, you know what I'm saying, and a bunch of other stuff. But we're under Holy Roman Empire right now. That's why the Pope is the sovereign ruler of this planet, whether y'all know it or not. And we're going to show you where all these changes in the days, weeks, names, and all this, or attempts to, because you see, we still know exactly the real thing. You just got to go back to the Bible. You see what I'm saying? But we're going to show you the Pope or the church, the Catholic Church is where all this madness comes from. So I'm going to skip down to verse 25. It says, and he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws, and they shall be given into his hand until the time of the times, the dividing of time. That's 3.5 years. This is talking about the man of sin, or the abomination of desolation, who is no other than the Pope. Now, the funny thing about this is, this started, forms of this, with the changes of times. Let me read that again. It said, and he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws. Who changed the times and laws? Emperor Constantine changed the Sabbath day from Saturday to 7th day to Sunday, which is the first day. He was out of the Catholic Church. He was the Roman, right? You got Caesar, what was my name? Nero Caesar. He was one of the first rulers of Rome. He was in there doing all type of stuff. You had Titus, who invaded our land, Jerusalem, in 70 AD. That's when the persecution of the saints started to some degree. And then when they came in, then they was doing all kind of stuff. So in the end, when that same seat position from the Catholic Church, which is the papacy, somebody gonna get up there and they gonna finish this prophecy out in full effect. They already started with the changes of the times. You see, with the month, they even telling you, when you go to Genesis, it tell you the evening and the morning was a day. So it tell you the moon and the sun, the moon and the sun helps you know the different times. But when you look, they tell you at 12 o'clock midnight, it's still dark. It's been dark for hours. You ain't seen nothing change. They tell you in the middle of the night, the day didn't change. This is prophecy about all that. Y'all see what I'm saying? So people, this is where it all come from. And the Pope gonna pull that for 3.5 years. He persecute. That's a whole nother story, the Great Tribulation. But this is just identifying, and I could have went into more, but I ain't trying to make it that long. We already hitting the 45-minute mark. And so yeah, man. So leave y'all comments or whatever. And we're gonna break down those feast days in Leviticus 23. I'm gonna make sure that we deal with all those individually and show how you keep them and why we keep them and all that. But this, I just had to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. The beginning of the month is April. If you want to say that falls around April, March. So we are April Fools. That was something they threw on us because we were still keeping the original God's New Year. So they called us some April Fools because they was doing it in January under their God. Right? And a day starts at nighttime. A day starts at what you call nighttime. Think about it. In the beginning, it was darkness. Then it was light. Adam was a soul laying there. But then when God breathed in his breath, he got animated. He became a living soul. So everything starts one way. It ends up another way. That's all. It really ain't that hard, man. And the reason I threw that the Adam was laying that type thing and he became animated because we believe by us not being nocturnal creatures per se. And you mean to tell me we was doing everything at nighttime? No, we started off sleep like Adam did. Then the Lord put that animation up in us, that life up in us, then we got up and we started moving. So we started off sleep at nighttime, most of us, and then at the end of that day is we get all our work out the way. Then we go right back to sleep. Come on, man. We just got to change our whole way of thinking. Even Hebrews, we even wrote from right to left. We didn't write from left to right. That's backwards. Right is natural. Why you think it say sit at my right hand? Not saying I'm wrong with left-handed, but that's unique. That's more of a birth thing. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a lot of the Benjamites were left-handed. So that's not a bad thing. It's just not the norm. Normal represents the right hand. See what I'm saying? So that's a whole nother thing. I get off all into all that, but I ain't gonna do that right now. So I say, y'all, thank you so much for joining me. I didn't do this one on Facebook Live because I didn't want to have to deal with all the comments and stuff. And yeah, so like I said, I can't recover the rest of that video of the original one because they deleted it and they got me blocked out the groups again, y'all, to the 7th of January. So any videos that I make, I ask that y'all please share them in the groups. They got me marked. And I got a couple more things I'm going to deal with next. I'm going to deal with the Tariq Nasheed thing and the Umar Johnson. I'm going to deal with it just like I did when I did Kanika. I didn't do the whole CSI Negro thing. I ain't finna do the rah-rah. I'm going to tell them what they need to hear. Brother to them 2 brothers. You know, and some of y'all need to be ashamed of yourself for rooting that nonsense on too. I just want to tell y'all that. I'm going to show y'all what the Most High feel about it. So before we go, we see in Daniel chapter 7, he told us that this whole Greco-Roman thing was going to come trying to change all our times. So I'm going to name off these beautiful, see that? Yeah, these the calendars, man, with our feast days and everything, man. Beautiful, man. They got all the books you can order too from the IOG Israel God. You know, y'all want to get in contact with them. you know. So I'm gonna name all 5 months. It's that 1/4 month I can't ever remember. But it's Abib, Ziph, Sivan. You got the 4th month. Because I think that's what Tammuz was at. You see that in some of them Jewish calendars. You know, so just got the 4th month. So however you say 4th month in Hebrew, you just put that right there. You got because it's mentioned even in scripture, 4th month. And you got Abe, you got Elu. So we know that ain't got nothing to do with no us worshiping no Canaanite god. That's a whole nother thing. I mean, it's some smart dummies out there. You have Anthonel, Bull, Kislu, Tibeth, Shebat, and Adar. So that's Abib, Ziph, Shivan, the 4th month. Ab, Elul, Ethanan, Bull, Kislu, Tibet, Sebat, and Adar. There you go. And remember, if you also want to check to the new moons to verify that the new moons actually starts like the month of Abib, and the new moon starts every month. You could also go into like there's a lot of spots you can read that, but try Amos chapter 8 too. It's up at like Amos chapter 8 verse 4 through 6, somewhere through that. It lets you know you got the new moons, and during the new moons they was treated like a high feast day or Sabbath. Wasn't no selling. You can go through the scriptures and see it wasn't no selling and buying, nothing like that. They was recognizing that, and then it talks about the Sabbath, which is the weekly Sabbath. So they killed them being the same. The weekly Sabbath in that month, you want to call it a monthly Sabbath. Yes, you could say that, but it's not the same as the weekly Sabbath. That's every 7 days. So yeah, I'll be back, man. So I say thank all y'all, man. And no Happy New Year. It's a happy lie. It ain't the New Year. It's paganism. That's the case you might as well keep the Chinese New Year. Or something like that. Or the Atlantean one, for all that matters. So I say peace, shalom, shalom.